There was one Democratic senior member of Congress who could have obtained Donald Trump's state taxes from New York, but decided against doing it. And it's actually a senior Democrat that we've talked on the show about recently, and it's Chairman Richie Neal. He's the chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, and based on a New York law, he could have easily obtained the New York state taxes for Donald Trump, which essentially contain similar info compared to the federal tax returns. But he decided against it because he thought it would be much better to go through a lengthier and more difficult process of suing the IRS in order to obtain his tax returns. Now, of course, he didn't manage to accomplish that, which made people on the left incredibly angry and frustrated. So one person who called him out for this is now his Democratic primary challenger, Alex Morse. And here's what he said at the time. There's an urgency to this moment in Massachusetts' first district in our country, and that urgency is not matched by our current representative in Congress. We need new leadership that understands that we can no longer settle for small, incremental, and compromising progress. We need to be on offense. And so he's not the only one who felt that way. Many progressives felt the same way. And if you have an easy avenue in which to get Donald Trump's tax returns, then go for it. In fact, if you don't go for it, it makes people question what your intentions or motivations are. Now, NBC News reported at the time, and this is from a story back in 2019, while many of his fellow chairmen ramped up oversight inquiries soon after the new Congress was seated in January, Neal waited before requesting the president's federal returns. After the Treasury Department refused to furnish them, Neal took months before suing the Treasury and the IRS for the documents. And by the way, and this should come as absolutely no surprise, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi supported him 100%, backed him in his approach, and did so publicly.
Yeah, so I'm going to get into Richie Neal's corruption and incompetence. If you're wondering, Alex Morse for Congress.com is the website again for his opponent. His opponent is a very progressive Democrat, a Justice Democrat. We'll have the links down below as well, right there, and does not take any corporate PAC money, unlike Richie Neal. We recently, coincidentally, did a story about how Richie Neal took money from private equity companies to kill legislation that would help end surprise bills at hospitals, because those surprise bills pay the bills for corrupt people like Congressman Richie Neal. So whatever you do, support non-corrupt politicians on either side. Okay, now, how corrupt is Richie Neal? So in this issue, there's two different ways to get the tax returns. One is federal, the other is state. On the federal level, Richie Neal said, no, I have to take my sweet ass time and I have to get it just right. And that's why I'm gonna take months and months and months before I ask Treasury and the IRS. But the idea is I'm gonna craft it perfectly. Supreme Court just ruled on that today. And they said, this is terrible. It's totally bungled. It's totally broad. And we're gonna have to send it back to the lower courts so you can actually do a subpoena that has any kind of validity. So even if Richie Neal was on the level and not corrupt, and I'll tell you in a second why he might be corrupt in this issue. But if he was on the level, he's grotesquely incompetent. He's like, okay, I'm gonna take forever to come up with a perfect strategy. And then the court's like, this is terrible. And no, so you lose. You're not gonna get to see them before the elections. So what happened, Richie Neal? I thought you were gonna be so good at asking for the tax returns. So then the New York State says, I got the same things. They're the state tax returns, nearly identical. And there's only one person who could ask for them, the head of the House Ways and Means Committee. That's Richie Neal, okay? At that point, there's no court stopping him. If it was me, I'd be like, I want them right now, give it to me right now, boom, here they are, they're public. Before the court could even do anything. It took so long for Trump's lawyers to get the court involved in the New York issue. At that point, the courts say, you're not allowed to give them to Congress. But he had all this time. And Richie Neal never asked for the state tax returns. Now, you wanna know why? His ostensible reason was, well, I think it might hurt me in the courts. It might seem political if I ask for the federal and the state tax returns. One that makes
no legal expert agreed with that. Literally, no legal expert agreed with that. Yeah,
totally made up. Okay, And so, and then the court ruled today, no, we already think it's political and you didn't prove your case, so you're gonna have to come up with more specific subpoenas. So no one believed him, and they were right and he was wrong. So why in the world did he do it? Turns out Richie Neal had not released his own tax returns. Oh, for Christ's sake. This is why we argue against corrupt Democrats and corporate Democrats. Finally, after an enormous amount of pressure from a primary from a Justice Democrat, he finally had to release his own tax returns. And so I don't know that he was also protecting Trump. He was certainly protecting himself. There's no question about that. And what do Pelosi and Neal and all these people do? Oh, la resistance! And meanwhile, behind the scenes, they do everything to make sure that they can help Trump hide all of his potential criminal wrongdoing. So, and to me, the media is so unbelievable. Credit to NBC News, who did a good story on this. I love giving credit where credit is due. But everyone else, whenever you point that out, they're like, how could you say that about Nancy Pelosi? Well, what's your counter argument? She loves Richie Neal. She put Richie Neal in that seat to make sure that no one ever got investigated. It's sickening Democratic leadership what they do. Luckily, Alex Morse can do to Richie Neal what Jamal Bowman did to Elliot Engel. And that would be a huge earthquake. And it would send a message to the Democrats. Stop pretending you're on our side. Actually be on our side. Stop pretending you're fighting Trump and the Republicans. Actually fight Trump and the Republicans.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. I really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.